Hey y'all, it's me back with another video. Okay, I don't like the way this camera is. Okay, I put the camera on a tripod because the little box that I was using, I threw that away because it was getting on my nerves. It was getting a little cluttered. And that box had just the right height and all that kind of, anyway, yeah, I threw it away. So now I'm using my husband's tripod, and I don't know if I like it. Okay, I wanted to talk about death and Aretha Franklin's funeral and why I didn't watch it and how I, kind of feel about, her death and stuff. So this is going to be one of them rambling videos. If you don't want to, this is kind of cathartic for me. So if you ain't into rambles, you can sit this one out. But I had already told myself that I was not going to, watch the funeral, even if, broadcast live or whatever. But of course, I've been seeing like little clips, because it's a clip on right now about, who was singing and all of that kind of stuff. Like, that part don't bother me. It's the casket and the family marching in, and, that's the part that cuts me deep, as my husband says, because it just reminds me so much of losing my mother. And then it reminds me that I am getting older, because we are losing all of those older entertainers and actors and, everything from my childhood. All of those people, from my childhood, a lot of those people are a lot older, the Whispers, the Temptations, Aretha, all of those, Gladys Knight, all of those older singers are old, because they were older than I was then. So of course they're old now. These are the people that, that my mom liked, and my mom is gone. It just reminds me that she's gone. And it's like every time I think about a funeral, I think about what I had to go through when, my mother, at her funeral. Just the whole thing. And it's weird because your mind tries to, I think, erase things that hurt you, but something will come up and trigger those memories. And for some reason, Aretha's death has been a trigger for me. It just made me remember that day that I do everything I can to forget. But you won't ever forget that. I'm telling you, when you lose a parent. My father passed away when I was 2, so I don't have any memories of him. But me and my mama, we was thick as thieves. Do you hear me? That, I always tell my mama she was my girl. She was my friend. We talked on the phone every day. Every day. 3, 4, 5 times a day. Mama be calling, "Ooh, did you see who just won Jeopardy?" And, just crazy stuff. She would call me to tell me what bills she got in the mail. I'm sick of these bills. I wish somebody would send me something other than a bill. Or she would call me and ask me to come pick her up and take her to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Take her to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And she'd be like, "I'll buy you some. Come get me, girl. Come on, let's go to Kentucky Fried Chicken." I live in East Oakland. My mom lived in West Oakland. I would have to fight that traffic going to the west. to pick up my mama because she had a specific KFC that she wanted to go to. I could only take her to one. No matter how crowded that drive-through was or whatever, she wanted to go to this specific KFC, so I would have to take her there. We were just close, you know, and losing her, I think, was the hardest thing I have ever in my life had to deal with. Like, I came close. I came close because a couple of years ago, I almost lost my son. And that was hard because he had a 6-hour surgery. And I don't know, that took something out of me too. Just to think I could lose my baby. And it was after I had lost my mom. And I'm like, God, now you know, I can't lose Lucille and Hakeem. You done already took Lucille. You can't take my child too. You know, it was crazy. Going to the cemetery and seeing people in caskets now are totally different than they were before I lost my mom. It's too much for me to it's just a lot. My brain just don't want to piece it together. Like my brain, if I go see somebody else, like my husband's cousin had passed away, I didn't want to go to the cemetery, but of course to the funeral I didn't want to go, but of course I had to support my husband. Something happened and she didn't end up having a traditional funeral. I was so happy because I just didn't want to look at that casket. I'm serious. And now, no matter how strong I am of a person spiritually, when I go to the cemetery, when I went to the cemetery for my mom's funeral, I guess I was already so messed up that, you know, that time didn't really bother me. But when they put her headstone down, they wanted me to come and see it. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, I don't have to, you know, I don't have to go in all white. I don't have to wear my leggings. I don't have to do anything because I'm just going to go and I'm going to look at it and we're going to get back in the car and we're going to leave. I get out there, the man, I don't know what to call him, the cemetery worker or whatever, met us there because, you know, he wanted to make sure the spelling was correct and all of that kind of stuff. Even though it was already laid, they hadn't already put it down, but it was freshly laid. They want to make sure everything is okay. So, you know, I get out and I look at it. It's, you know, she's right next to my dad, but his wasn't big enough to take down and add her name. So we had to, you know, get a entirely separate marker for her with her name on and all that stuff. So I looked at it and I was like, yeah, you know, everything is right. Maybe about 5 minutes into the whole thing, I literally started to get sick. I mean, it just seemed like I could just feel all of this energy, and the cemetery just started to feel like it was getting smaller around me, like it was coming in on me, like it was getting, and it's the middle of the day, it's getting dark, and it just seemed like everything is just moving, you know, closer to me, like the graves are getting closer, the trees are getting closer, and I'm telling the man, okay, thank you, you know, because I'm really trying to rush him off so I can get back in the car. And I think my husband saw that I was sweating And he said I, was looking funny. And so we just had to leave. And I just told him, that I didn't, I wasn't feeling good. I didn't tell him how bad, it was, but I just told him I wasn't feeling good. So the first Mother's Day, I decided, okay, it's the first Mother's Day since my mom been gone. My mother passed in November, and I think Mother's Day is when, in May, I think. So it was the first Mother's Day since she had been gone. I wanted to put some flowers on her grave. I'm at 10 minutes, y'all. I'm just rambling. My husband's grandmother is kind of like right across the road. I was going to say street. But across the road from where my mama buried at, they can basically see each other. So he said, okay, I'm going to go over here and put some flowers on my grandmother's grave so you can, spend some time with your mom. But that time I decided to, go full out. Like my head was covered. I had on my leggings, just all white, everything. And the experience wasn't as bad. Like I didn't get that closed in type, feeling. I didn't feel crazy or, just, I can't even describe the feeling that I had, but it was overwhelming. It was spiritually overwhelming. It was overwhelming death and just a lot because it was dark. And I didn't get that when I had on I had on my leggings. I had on, all white, like my full Aretha outfit, and it was just so much better. But I haven't been to the cemetery since. I haven't. We passed by there going to his parents' house, and, I always tell my mama hi, my dad hi from a distance. Cemeteries, I don't do cemeteries well. I just don't. It's just part of who I am. And even when I was little, my mom had said that when my dad died, I had this weird dream that I had explained to her. And it was so real to me that my mother decided that I wouldn't be able to go to the funeral. And this was, okay, so my biological father passed away when I was 2. And that set off this chain reaction for me basically to be adopted by my aunt and uncle. And my uncle was my dad's uncle. And then my aunt was my aunt through marriage because it was his wife, who in turn became my mother. And then my uncle, he passed away when I was 5 years old. This was actually before the adoption was even final. He didn't make it to the finalization of the adoption. And he only didn't make it by like a couple of months. Like if he had held on a couple of more months, he would have saw it. But he didn't make it because it was final that same year, the year that he passed away. So my mother was like, nope, she ain't going. She not, and she had already bought me this dress. And, I'm thinking I'm going to a party or something because she done bought me this new dress and these new shoes. I was, all I was thinking about was I'm about to be cute, She bought me these little new shiny patent leather shoes and this new dress. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we're about to go somewhere nice. I'm going to be up in here styling on these other little kids. Yeah. Because I used to love to shop. And my mother was like, no, I'm not, I don't want to take her to the funeral because I don't know how she gonna react. Because she took me to the viewing. That was what set off this dream. She took me to the viewing. I remember that part. She took me to the viewing. And she kept saying, you know, we gonna go see Daddy. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm thinking Daddy was still at the hospital where we would go see him, and the nurses would always bring me Jell-O and, you know, juice and, you know, so I'm good. We're going to see Daddy. Okay. So we get there, and, you know, it's other people there, and it's quiet, and I'm like, okay, this is not the hospital. You know, I didn't know. I'm 5 years old. I have no idea what a funeral home is. So we get to the funeral home, and I'm like, this don't look like the hospital. And we get inside, and I'm like, no, this is not the hospital. But I don't know what this is, but this ain't the hospital. So, you know, I'm looking at my mama. She looked like she crying or something's going on. So I'm like, Daddy here? And she was like, yeah, you know, yeah. And then my mom's best friends are there. And I'm, you know, all of this is, I'm 5. All of this is going on in my mind, but I was a smart little kid. Something ain't right here. And y'all ain't telling me something. So, you know, then my mama best friend come, and, you know, she taking me, and, you know, we going in here, and I see my daddy in a box. That was it. Do you hear me? My mother said I literally almost jumped out of my damn shoes. She said she never saw me jump that high. And she said they had to literally grab me and take me outside. You know, they took me away from, you know, the viewing. And my mother just said that I looked like I was in shock. She said she didn't even think I was breathing, because she said my eyes were big and I just wasn't saying anything. I wasn't speaking. I was just, she said I was mute. She said they were so scared because I wasn't crying. I wasn't saying nothing. I wasn't asking for nothing. I was just sitting there like, you know, I don't remember, you know, that part at all. And I think that's because after a while, your brain just shuts off. The kids can only take so much tragedy or so much pain or hurt or whatever before they, you know, they just shut off. I'm going to go. Where am I? I'm at 18 minutes. I will cut this in half, but I don't know how. If it's too much, just watch it in parts. And I'll tell you guys the rest of the story later. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.